IMK, or would you go with IMK? Difficult to pronounce, IMK. Got a vowel, but it's in the front. You almost never see the MK glide. IMK, 719 for Carmen, so it should be okay. Of all the different substances that you have gotten on your skin due to the show, which one took the longest and or most effort to get off? There have been a lot of substances in, so you can make a good word there. All right, I'll go with one, a recent one. It's called Bone Black. Bone Black. And you don't hear much about it today because the people who use it really don't like to advertise the fact that they use it. But Bone Black was discovered a century or so ago by settlers moving west. And as they moved west, they would come across giant piles of corpses, bison and buffalo, back when we were busying ourselves exterminating all of them. They were stacked up on the prairie like cordwood, and their bleached bones were in abundance, and settlers used to burn them, right? Because you can. And they noticed that if you burn them, what ultimately is left behind isn't just ash. It's this fine black powdery, almost like talc. And they realized that you could use that for any number of things, including changing the color of paint. So they started to sell it for people who were making paint. Today we use it for the same thing, but we also use it for makeup, mascara in particular. A lot of makeups have this bone black process or substance in it. I went to a place in Michigan, Allen Park, called Ebonex, one of the last people who make bone black in any real quantity. And I worked there for a day, reducing the bones into the powder, putting the powder into the bag, shipping the bags. By the end of the day, I was the color of a black hole, except for my eyes and teeth, which were extraordinarily white. And I just don't recall ever being dirtier. Went back to the hotel and took 4 showers. Really didn't change much at all. I had become, I was Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer. It was ridiculous the way I looked. And I had it under my nails for weeks after that. I got most of it off the next day with some of that Gojo and a brush. But it was painful and annoying. And that's what I'm going to go with. Bone Black is the answer to your question, Imk. Let's move on to Root Moot. Root Moot with a karma score of 0. You think this means that Root Moot never took the test, or took the test and came up with nothing?
They could just be new.
Could be new. Root Moot, if you're new, I apologize. I hope your karma score is really not 0. It's like Dean Wormer in Animal House. 0.0. Lutarski. Root Moot says, Mike, what are your thoughts on labor unions? Oh, man. Thank you. Do you see more creativity from a labor union or the independent entrepreneur? What is the ratio of non-union dirty jobs to union dirty jobs that you have done? Root Moot, that's the kind of question that can get me in so much trouble you don't even know. But I'm going to answer it. What do I care? Your name's Root Moot. How much trouble can I get in? Unions are so touchy, man. They're so touchy. I'm in a couple, you know, because I have to be. I have to be in the performing unions, you know, and I'm not going to say anything bad about them. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, there is a natural equilibrium that ought to exist in the workforce, dictated by such things as supply and demand, free market, capitalism, all of which I'm a fan of. And when bosses and employees create a product or deliver a service in an ideal circumstance, everybody feels just a little screwed over. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's like a deal. It's like a contract. Everybody's supposed to feel like they just took it in the neck just a little bit. That's how you know you've made a fair deal. And that's the truth. Very few people will confess this, Root Moot, but it's the truth. If you make a deal with somebody and feel like you had a great deal, well, you know, the other person probably feels like they got screwed over, if there's any truth to the equilibrium theory. If both people feel like they got a great deal, one of them's obviously wrong. You know, that's mathematically impossible. What I'm getting at is this. It's very, very difficult to have two people on a seesaw of the perfect exact weight. You know, it just doesn't happen. Somebody's always fatter, so the thing starts to go back and forth. And when that happens in business, we start to apply artificial controls. Maybe a minimum wage, maybe a rent control, maybe a labor union. And there are times in history when obviously we need to have these controls because the equilibrium becomes so out of whack. You know, the skinny little girl on the seesaw is stuck way up in the air because the big fat pig is on the other side. That's no good. We got to do something, right? So labor unions, in my opinion, have played an invaluable role over the years in helping bring that equilibrium back. But when it goes too far the other way, you see the same thing happen. Now the little girl, labor, 100 years ago, puts on a few, right? The management, you know, it's been on a diet. The management's up in the air, labor union. So look, very tricky thing for me to say anything that's going to piss off a bunch of Teamsters. Those guys are my friends and ladies, and I'm very sympathetic to who they are and what they do. But likewise, I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't a company guy from time to time. I have been. You know, I've been in management. I've had people working for me, and I try and remain sensitive to doing the right thing. But the hard truth is, it's never perfectly balanced. And the role of unions, when properly and responsibly applied, is invaluable to my opinion of what a satisfying work experience ought to be. But if they go too far, they can be as dangerous as any other extreme. Ask the folks in Detroit right now, really, what's going on? And you're going to get some answers that are inflammatory, sometimes contradictory. They make people uncomfortable. I think they're important right up to the point where they're not. I think they're helpful right up to the point where they're destructive. I don't know where those points are. It's a long way of saying nothing, isn't it? Fine question, though. Why does anybody use vowels anymore? Here's a question from somebody called SOMN. Some 740 on the karma thing. Psalm says, is there any chance you'll stop having sex with my wife in her dreams? It's getting pretty old, Mike. No. Oh, man, there's no chance of that. That ain't going to happen. I'm sorry. Look, my mother could watch this, right? I'll make you a deal. I can't stop having sex with your wife in her dreams because they're her dreams. And we're all individuals living in a self-actualized world, free to dream about that which we choose. However, I feel you, what you're saying. It's got to be awkward, so I'll do this. I will stop performing in your wife's dreams to the very best of my ability, which I have been doing, to be candid with you. I mean, I've been knocking the bottom out of that thing. I don't want to brag, but it's been, I mean, look, I'm 47 years old. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. You know what I'm saying? The wife does. That's going to change. From now on, starting tonight, I'm going to be there in her dreams, but it's ultimately going to be a little disappointing for both of us. You're welcome.